Welcome to Doing the Work, a Naples Integrated Recovery podcast. My name is Brian, and this space is for anyone who's tired of surviving the same emotional and behavioral loops, whether that's anxiety, trauma, addiction, or problems in your relationships. Around here, we cut the surface level advice, no sugarcoating, no platitudes, no bumper sticker wisdom. We focus on clarity, responsibility, emotional discipline, and the courage to look at yourself honestly so that you can stop repeating the same old patterns and start living with intention instead of reaction. Let's get into it. This is Brian from Naples Integrated Recovery, and I am very excited to have another live podcast guest. Today, my friend Kelly Jo is going to share a little bit about her story. And just as a background, I met her during the pandemic. If you go back in the archive with the show, there was another guest, Terry, who had set up an online Zoom meeting in the pandemic called First Things First, which started with him and a couple of what he referred to as stodgy old guys. And it very quickly took off, becoming not only a national, but a global meeting with hundreds of people that came in. Kelly knew the pre-therapist version of me. At one point, I went on a road trip and I visited about 20 or so people from that meeting all through the nation. And I stopped at her house when I was in grad school and have pictures of me taking an exam from her couch. And so it's been a while since I have spoken with Kelly Jo, but in the last time that I did, she shared that she has had some health updates that have been really, really challenging. And so I wanted to introduce my friend and talk a little bit about what did pre-recovery look like. And well, why don't we just start there?
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me. So pre-recovery, Kelly. I was, as you hear in AA all the time, the whole and the soul, just lost. And in high school, I started drinking, but I wasn't an alcoholic. I didn't have the great, easy, comfortable upbringing, and I blamed my parents, but they really had nothing to do with my alcoholism. I started drinking and it just had me. I found ease and comfort in alcohol, and I partied but man, I excelled at school, right? So I wanted to be more. I wanted more. I wanted to do more. And alcohol allowed me to do that. And it started out innocent enough, right? Drinking on weekends, but then that turned into drinking every day almost. And I can remember not wanting to drink, but not being able not to drink. And so I drank. And I tried every kind of facade to stop drinking, the whole abstinence of self-will, and that worked for a while. And I did, let's see what happened. I I had a son and I was drinking, and I had done things, as we all do in life, that we regret, that we didn't want to be a part of. And so I drank and to oblivion. I had a blackout, and I ended up putting my son in the car with me. And I don't remember this, but I know I did it. And I drove with him in a blackout. And at some point along the way, my sister saw me and stopped me. And I went to the hospital, and I was so bad off that I can remember being in that room, banging my head against the concrete walls. I was just so desperate and full of hate toward myself because I had done things and said things, and I had become a person I did not want to be. And they put me in a psych ward, of course, because I was a danger to myself and those around me. And I stayed there for a while and got out. Couldn't be alone with my son for months. I don't know how long it was. But fear kept me sober. I went to AA meetings when I got out as part of getting being able to be alone with my son. But I didn't really succumb to the idea that I was alcoholic at that point. I just did it to do the motions. But I stayed sober for 6 years on fear. And then the day came, I went to a concert with my husband, like a Lionel Richie concert or something like that. And we had a glass of wine at supper. And it was like I was making up for lost time at that point. I immediately started drinking every night, just wine, of course, because that was going to be okay. And then it turned into more and more and more. And I was on the way home from work one day. It was a good day, too. I do remember that. It was a good day. There was absolutely nothing wrong. And I went to the liquor store and I got 2 bottles, I think, of Jack Daniels. And somehow or another, drank it before I got home. I didn't even make it home. I, again, was in a blackout. I don't remember everywhere I went or what I did, but I got pulled. A good Samaritan called the police on my driving, and I got pulled over and I got arrested. And I surrendered to alcoholism in the back of that police car because I had already gotten to the point where I did not want to drink. I absolutely did not, but I absolutely could not stop. And I remember sitting in the back of that car, and it was like I just exhaled for the first time in a long time. And my husband came and got me out, and I came home. And as soon as I hit my door, I just fell to my knees. And I just asked God to help me because I had been to AA. I knew what all they said, and I knew there was a way to stay sober. And I surrendered to alcoholism at that point. And it was a long road, right? We do the steps. It took a while, but I found freedom. I found freedom from alcoholism. I found freedom from myself, essentially. All that guilt and burden and shame, I found freedom. And I haven't found the need to drink since that point. What, that was 2014? And I haven't had a drink since then.
Thanks for sharing a little bit of that background. And so, what did life start to look like once you found that freedom? Who did you become when you weren't organizing your life around alcohol and guilt and shame anymore?
I became the person I always was, if that makes any sense. I truly believe that the Kelly that I know today was always there. It was just covered up, if you will. I became a mother. I became a wife, a friend. I quit my job in Nashville, and my husband and I opened a business, and it did very well. And we lived, it was me, my husband, and my children. We all worked at this business together. Were able to move away. We sold the business. We moved back home.
I really like uh, where you're going with this. That you were that was always already inside of there. And there's one um, Buddhist teaching about a golden Buddha statue that was covered in clay for years, because there was like an invading army that was coming in. And so they put clay around this so that it wouldn't be captured as a spoil from war. And that this clay statue sat for decades, that nobody had any idea that there was like this gold underneath it, and one day that it had cracked, and that people saw the gold underneath that. And it's this metaphor used in Buddhism about our basic nature, that deep inside of us, the gold is always there, that like deep down, most of us, we are very good, but that we get covered with clay of fear and trauma and addiction and conditioning and unhealthy patterns that can really cover up that that gold, core that's actually there.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. And that is a great metaphor because I do believe that deep down, I've always been me, right? But I covered it up. It got covered up by what I went through. It got covered up by the things I did. Then I covered it up with alcohol. And you think about all those layers you have to peel off to get down to that core. And essentially, that's what I did using the program. I was able to peel it away. And I'm still, to this day, not necessarily finding myself, but allowing myself to just be. I'm no longer searching for who is Kelly. I'm just allowing Kelly and God's presence to come out. And that does take a long time to get to that point to where you can just be and be okay with that.
You're absolutely right about like the layers. Ultimately, if you keep peeling and peeling and peeling, is there always more layers? Or tell me how you eventually got to a point where you stopped having to dissect and understand everything, and just actually became kind of comfortable with, maybe I'm not supposed to know everything, or I don't know, and maybe that's just exactly how it's supposed to be, and I'm actually just okay with just being.
So I contribute a lot of that to actually getting sick. I had to have some back surgeries. I had, it started out rather simple, a discectomy, right? That's very common. But I ended up getting an infection called Serratia marcescens. And it does not respond to normal antibiotics. And the mortality rate is relatively high. And I was in the hospital recovering from surgery. And all of a sudden, this pain, I'm not talking about a normal pain. It was something inside of me that felt like it was eating me from the inside out.
Oh my
And
God.
I had all these nurses running in because I was screaming at one point. All these nurses are coming in. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They can't make it stop. I remember getting up. It's a normal hospital room, right? It's got the hospital bed. It's got the TV across the wall. I remember getting up, getting to my TV underneath it with the walker. And I was going in my head. I was playing through all these scenarios of, my husband, my children, my friend, thinking, are they going to be okay if I don't make it? And as soon as I got directly in front of my bed, I decided everyone was going to be okay. And I said, okay, God, you can have me. And in that split second, and you're going to think I'm crazy, in that split second, all that was gone. I had no pain. I had no feeling but peace. And I was literally watching myself like I was in the corner of the room, watching myself down below, walk to my bed, lay down in my bed. And that's all I remember. And that moment changed me. I have not been the same since. I have looked for that moment again because there's been no other experience or feeling like it. But in that moment, my viewpoint, if you, I guess, completely changed. And it's never went back before that moment for me. I don't want to die. I'm not saying that at all. But I don't fear death. It was a surrender to death, if you will.
Was that surrender like the one that had happened in the back of the police car, or was it different?
It was deeper because from a from a religious standpoint, you have to understand this. So from a religious standpoint, I was saved as a little girl, and I do believe in heaven. And the surrender that night, it was on a level that I didn't know existed. To be completely okay with death and dying and letting go, to not fear or even feel. Can you imagine a day or even a moment where you didn't feel anything except just blissful peace? And the beautiful thing about it is this moment is going to be this moment. No matter what you do, whether you feel it with the fears that are in your head, the anxiety that's in your head, this moment is still going to be exactly as it is. So why feel it with those anxieties? And it is easier said than done, right? But when it comes down to it, those anxieties and those fears, they don't truly exist. I was just making them up in my head. That was my mind telling me I had the anxiety. I have the fear. I have the want. But today, I guess they truly don't. They don't exist.
So you notice that fear and anxiety doesn't crop up for you the way that it used to. Help me kind of just understand how you experience this. That is, so acceptance is this moment is here, and the question becomes how you're going to meet it.
You don't question it, you just meet it. Why would you question a moment that you're living? Right? You just live it. So before, especially in alcoholism, when I was drinking or whatnot, I would have these fears and anxieties because I would be living in a moment that I wasn't living in. In my mind, I was 5 minutes down the road or
Right.
5 years down the road.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't living this moment or even this life. I have taken so much away from my life in being in the future that it's sad if you think about it. Now, I'm not saying I don't get anxiety and fear. That's normal, but it doesn't have me.
So when doctors are giving you information about a future that may be very real, including your illness, your prognosis, and even probably one of the things that most humans fear the most, the thought of death or not existing anymore. How do you stay present in that moment?
So my doctors, I have quite a few different things going on. So I have the infection, and I have myasthenia gravis, which there are days when you can't do anything, right? Your body is just so exhausted that it doesn't want to do anything. I have great doctors and they are treating me, but I also know that I can't get, the infusions that I need because of the infection. Once you realize that you don't control anything, it's easier not to try. So I used to have to control things because I truly thought that me exerting my will on something was going to make a difference and control something. I truly, in my core, believed that. And I guess during this experience, you realize you don't. And it's freeing. It's freeing to know that God's got me, right? His will, not mine, be done. And that's just the way it is. So I can or try to exert my will on this, but what good is it going to do? It's futile. It isn't going to make a difference.
How do you make peace with when we think that we know better than God?
You have to have that complete surrender. I mean, you can be halfway in and halfway out, but what good is that? It's like you said, you felt torn. You're being pulled this way and being pulled that way. But the part of you that did let go and did surrender, I know you felt peace with that. It's just a moment your mind gets in the way. My mind, if I let it, it would probably have me going in 7 different directions. I mean, I don't fight that like I used to, but I'm telling you, there's a peace in just being in this moment right here with you. We're exactly where we're supposed to be. Everything is transpiring exactly like it should. I mean, God put us together, Brian. You know that. We have a connection. We couldn't have done that. There's no way I could have picked you out of everyone in this world. That's a God thing because we didn't exert our will, because we let it be. So the more we practice that, I think the closer we get to doing God's will and to having that peace and letting things just be. But we live in a world where the world's trying to tell us what we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to want, right? They implant this desire for things. It's just stuff. The world is full of stuff.
Distractions?
Yeah, that's all it is. But that's the world we live in. I truly believe that the world we live in takes us away from the present moment. You think about it, social media, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with social media, but the moment that you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or or whatever they do, you're not in the moment. You're in someone else's life. You're living someone else's life. And are you comparing yourself? I would rather be there. Oh, wow, they're on vacation. That must be nice. That's why I can't do social media, because it it'll do that. It did to me anyway. I can't speak for anyone else. It did for me, and that was no way for me to be.
If the only thing I see is, oh, Kelly's camping, hit a like, and that's it, that's totally different from, hey, why don't we schedule for the two of us to chat and really actually catch up? Because this interaction that we're having right now, you don't get that through a 2-second like.
That's right. There's moments that we're missing by simply just liking something or looking at something. We're missing moments. We're missing our life. And this life is meant to be experienced. We're meant to live these moments. I mean, moments are precious, right? We don't know how many of them we're going to get. And I think it's beautiful when two people can share moments.
So, how much of that thinking and that outlook existed uh, before your most recent real, like, just take it, God, however it's going to be? I mean, when you genuinely thought or believed, I am dying or I am could die, did ordinary moments like just having a coffee and watching some birds or whatever start feeling different for you?
I had moments before, through meditation or whatnot, where there was ease and comfort, but to just be, I don't think it, I don't think I ever had that before. Before I realized that we're surrendered to the idea and concept or truth that this moment belongs to the moment. I didn't have that before because I guess my perspective was different, right? I had this thought process that I was going to live and to be old sitting on the porch, right? That was the concept or the visualization that I had for myself.
Right. I think most of us, we have this thought of, I'm going to be 80, 90 years old, surrounded by family and die peacefully or whatever,
Right,
right?
right.
Which is why my partner and I wear these wristbands. Well, you remember like back in the day, the what would Jesus do, and how something like that is like a helpful refocus your thinking. We wear this wristband that says memento mori, which comes from like the Stoic literature, but this practice, not meant to be morbid, but it means remember death, or like you're going to die. And when you are thinking about the moment to moment stuff through that lens, almost everything is really not very important. That, like, when I think about moments that I have where my internal prosecutor comes on and I need to like put someone in their place, or I need to like be seen and understood or be right in a situation, if I can think long enough to pause about like, if I was going to die today, or if my last moments were coming, how important would this be? And like 99.99999% of the thing, it's so fucking stupid and not important. But especially if you've got wiring like some of us do, with addictive tendencies, we can have these hyper vigilant nervous systems that make everything feel like a fucking emergency, even though it's really not. It's really not a big deal. And when we can widen that perspective to be like, if I was going to die today, or if my partner that I'm angry at in this moment if I knew that he was going to die in an accident today, how important would this be? And I'd be like, it doesn't even matter at all. It's so not important. The relationship matters more. This moment matters more.
That's right. And that's the truth of the matter, right? Because that visualization that was in my head is not reality. The reality is, I have no idea when God's going to take me, when I'm going to be done with this world, right? I was what, 40 years old when I had that experience, and to know that, the medicines that I'm taking, they're helping, but ultimately they're not good for your system, right? I have no idea. You have no idea. It's it's done. And death isn't scary for me, right? It's not. But let go of that conception of being old on the porch. Because if this is the last moment with your partner, God, what a beautiful moment it is.
I feel like sometimes that it's like, uh, it's such a hard and heavy concept because I feel like intellectually, I feel like I can sometimes understand that, but experientially, to actually do it is a totally different practice. Um, and
Yeah.
where does grief intersect with this? Because I imagine that I mean, has that been part of this? Is like the pain of I thought that I was going to be old and on the porch, or I thought my life was going to be different, or this thought of like we're owed something, like we're going to tell God how it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that as I was going through all the people in my life and will they be okay, that was the grief for me. It wasn't the stuff, right? We accumulate all this stuff, had nothing to do with things or stuff. In that moment, it boiled down to love. So that, I believe, was my moment of grief. Are they going to be okay without me?
And so, what allowed you to decide in that room that they were going to be okay without you?
God. And I know that's a very simplistic way of saying it, but that is the bottom line for me.
So, faith that God's got it and that it's not something that Kelly Joe needs to figure out.
That's right. Because I believe when I die, I'm saved, I'll be in heaven, right? My children, my husband, my family, they have as well. There What is there to worry about, Brian? When you get down to it, for me, this is just I'm just passing through. We're all just travelers. So what is it that you would have to be anguished about from that perspective?
So, if we're all just passing through, how has that changed the way that you want to spend the time that you have here? What feels like it's worth your time now? Because you said it ain't stuff, it ain't collecting possessions. And my mom likes to say, my dad, he was a workaholic and he had lots of toys. And he was also kind of selfish, like, don't touch my boat, don't touch my car, don't touch me. And When he died, she was like, he didn't take it with him. There's the fucking Corvette. Go take that for a ride.
See, she's got it. I was a workaholic too. At one point in my life, I was, well, no, until this happened, I was a workaholic. It's sad, but I was. So now I guess it would be, and I keep saying love, but that's the key, right? When I'm if I can give my time to the people I love, that's the most precious thing I can give them. I can't get that back. I can't give it to anyone else.
Mm,
It's completely theirs and mine. The time that me and you are together right now, that's our time together, Brian. No one else's. And no one else can touch it. No one can experience it. You're gifting me something that you're not gifting to anyone else. You're giving it to me. How incredibly precious is that? You know, all those fears and anxieties, has it crept up once for you since we've been talking?
no, and
No,
haven't even thought about that. But no, I'm not thinking about any of that stuff because I'm just here with you.
that's right. And isn't that beautiful? Of course, during my alcoholism and when I was first getting sober, that was the ticket, right? Getting out of my head, getting out of myself, and seeing that there was another person in this world. Because when I was drinking, it was all about me. I didn't know that it was all about me, right? I couldn't see that in myself, but it was. It was all about me and what I needed, what I wanted, where I was going, what I was doing, what I had done, right? But when you're talking with someone else and truly, truly listening and being present with that person, time doesn't exist.
Mm,
You're in a moment.
right. Has being sick changed your relationship with receiving from other people? Because recovery taught you a lot about showing up for others, and illness can really force you to be okay with receiving help or having people show up for you. So, what has that been like for you?
Oh, absolutely. Because I was terrible at receiving, right? I didn't like to be, you would think that I would want to be the center of attention, but I hate being the center of attention, right? I don't want to ask people for help. I don't want to bother people. And there came a point where you have to let people in. You have to let people help you. And my sponsee really hit me on the head with it, right? She said, you have to remember that people helping you is their gift to you. They want to do that. And by you allowing them, you're giving them a gift as well. And that really helped me because I never saw it from that perspective that someone wanted to help me, right? Because they love me. But it's true. If I look at it from the giver perspective, yes, I want to help people, right? You broke your leg, you needed me, I'm coming, right? What do you need me to do? You need me to wash your dishes? Of course. And I would want to be able to do that for people. And it took a long time for me to be okay with or accepting that people want to do that for me. I honestly didn't know that or never paid attention maybe that people really do, they love me. And the same for you, Brian. People love you unconditionally. And it just never, I guess it never dawned on me that the way that I love people, they love me that way. But
Yeah.
I had to flip those lenses in order to see that. It's kind of sad though, right? That it took that to flip me around to being able to see that and accept that.
Yeah. What changed inside of you when you stopped seeing receiving help as being a burden, but instead as part of love, um and how not allowing that, not allowing people to help was kind of obstructing their ability to love you or their chance to show you that they love you.
I became more open, if you will. So instead of a one-way channel in and out, it became open to flow from any direction, every direction, all at once.
So, what does that openness feel like now when somebody loves you, helps you, and wants to show up for you?
That is really hard to put into words because it's not something intellectual, it's something heartfelt. I don't know that there's words to put with something that's heartfelt. I wish I could allow you to experience it, but I guess you have to experience it for yourself in order to know. And I'm sure you have,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Can you share maybe an experience of someone who really showed up for you in a way that you will just never, ever forget?
My mother, my mom. So when I was drinking, you had, when I was younger, living at home, I was a terror. I hurt my mom in ways that I'm not going to repeat, right? Of course, through the program, I made an amends to her, and we've had a relationship since that point. But when I got sick, my mom, she was by my side. And I'm not talking about just physically. There were points when I could look in my mom's eyes and I could see her pain
Mm.
for me.
What was that like to look at your mom and to see that pain, and that some of that was maybe about the possibility of losing you?
It will break your heart for a moment to see someone in pain for you because you're sitting there in pain. You know what it feels like. But for them to reflect it in their eyes, that'll grip you. But also to be able to have a conversation without words, that will bond you. So as she's reflecting my pain in her, I'm in her eyes. I remember telling her it's okay, and she just grabbed my hand and pat it. about 3 times and just shake her head. Have you ever had a conversation with someone without words?
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting emotional just being present with that. But there's so much that can be, uh, even with like something really brief. Like there's this concept in therapy of witnessing, which is like when you really see somebody's um, core, or like you see their pain, or the vulnerable parts that exist under protective parts. And my partner and I have really had some very, very vulnerable and deep emotional conversations like that. And to just say, like, I see you, and not like some romance movie type thing, but to really be present in a moment with somebody who like sees the soul, or sees what exists inside of that. And like it's like you can't articulate it any other, or at least I can't articulate that any other way than like, I see you, like, not the person, but like what's inside the spirit. The It's like, yeah, you can't even put words to that. And that can be so powerful, um to be witnessed at that level. It feels, for me, it feels overwhelming. Like it's overwhelming.
It's
Can't even put
consuming.
words to it.
It's
Right.
exactly, yeah.
So even though it's like impossible to try to put words to that, what if you could try, what would you imagine that you and your mom were saying to each other with that, when she grabbed your hand and just kind of patted it as she shook her head?
That it's okay. That everything is as it should be. It was like letting go.
Did it feel like she was letting go too?
She was okay with it. We were in agreement in that moment. Because as I told you before, just because we're done here doesn't mean that we're done for eternity, right?
This is again another like a concept from Buddhism that I have found really helpful on dying, is that like you're not really gone when you're gone. Um, the the physical shell like may not be there anymore, but like how we have shaped each other or shown up for each other, um, when you're not here, like you're still here in your husband, and in your mom, and in your kids, and how your kids will become parents, and who they raise their kids to be. So it's not that, it's like it's so abstract that sometimes it's hard for me to even wrap my brain around that. But that like all of us are just, I mean, as much as my dad like messed me up, like my dad's still present. Like I'm my dad. Like my dad exists in my sister, like, and in the millions of lives that he saved. He was a scientist. He was responsible for the HIV AIDS cocktail that has saved just millions and millions of lives, and bipolar medicines. I mean, so is he gone? He's gone, but he's not gone. And I don't know. That's kind of where my thoughts go with that. Is like it's heavy, it's hard. It's like you can miss a person, but that they're still there. Like, sometimes I have moments where I actually still feel like I connect with his spirit.
Yeah, he left his impression for you, all of it. He left it for you.
Right. How would we have that real full and accurate conception and understanding of that person if we don't put the Facebook down long enough to actually be present in moments with people?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that was like another awareness that I had was how frequently I would pick up my phone for like a 2 second Facebook check or whatever, and that now not doing that. Like when I go and have dinner with my mom or whatever, like I'm just like fully present, which for years I wasn't present because of my drinking. Um, and then in recovery, I had like, moments of presence. I think it's like it's an ongoing thing, right? Because going back to the beginning of our chat, like the world is just full of endless distractions. And when you think about your kids, what are you really hoping stays with them when you're not here anymore?
What's really important? I hope they I hope they stop to see the day. At night, I hope they look at the stars. I hope they see each other, like you and I were talking about earlier, not just from a physical perspective. And I hope they understand that God is everything, that the little stuff that doesn't matter. I hope they experience life and that they know that I love them, that they feel it even when I'm gone, right? And I may live to be 80. No one knows. But I hope they feel the love that I feel for them. Not just saying, oh, she loved me. No, I hope in their hearts they can feel it, that they can feel me hug them.
So, with the time that you've got, how do you make sure that they feel that love now while you're here to give it to them?
Be present. I keep talking about the moments, but I'm telling you, Brian, that's where it's at. Being present. How how is their day from their perspective? Not how I think it should be, but how was it? How do they feel? Are they happy? Are they getting consumed with this world that wants us to be consumed by itself?
Do you think that they experience you differently now because you are so present with them?
I do. I think we all know when someone's there just to be there, and when they're there and truly present with us. I think you can feel that, right? I can feel when someone's listening to me or when someone's looking at me, but not really listening. So I think they can sense that. I think they know that. That's one of those heartfelt things, right? You ever got a half-hearted hug from someone? Just a little pat. There wasn't any feeling involved. It was just emotion.
That, and also what you're describing, so many interactions that I can think of that I have had where I sit down with somebody, not clinically, but like a friend or whatever, and that they ask a question about how life is for me or whatever. And you can almost see the moment that like that it's like that I could say the most unhinged, fucked up thing ever. And then like, and that they are like thinking of 10 steps ahead about their life or their whatever. And then you can see the moment that they come back that they're like, uh-huh. And so things are good. And it's like, you didn't hear a fucking thing I just said.
You
You did
were
not
not
hear
listening.
you were not here at all. But then I also I don't get angry about it because I get it too. Like I know
Oh,
what that's
yeah.
like to be so consumed in your own life and fears and that they're just having a human moment, and I get that too, and that's okay.
Yep. I have stopped repeating myself, though, when people do that.
I I sometimes will bring my therapy skills outside the room, that occasionally I can't take off my therapist hat, and I'll name things like that when they happen. And then people will be like, "You're not my therapist," or, "Oh, I see what you're doing there." Um, is there something else or anything else that you would want people to know or think or practice or take away from our conversation, or anything about this time together that you want to close with or say?
I guess it would be to just stop. Just stop. As simple as that sounds. Like if I stop right now and I'm looking around, I'm seeing trees and squirrels and a lake. But if I don't stop, I can be here and not see any of it. Just be present.
Yeah. Sometimes really hard to do, and I think that that can be helpful when we have the moments of awareness that we are living in the future, or that we are um, not in the present. And I I so appreciate how open and vulnerable you have been with sharing so much. I'll make sure that I put your Facebook so that all the listeners can add you. Just kidding, but I am so thank you for allowing other people to hear this part of your story. Um, Oh, I love you so much. And I am so grateful that we got to have this conversation, and that you are here, and that we got to spend this Saturday together.
Likewise. Thank you for having me and spending some time with me. I love you, Brian.
Thanks for spending the time with me. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with somebody who may need to hear it. Be kind to yourself, be kind to people around you. Remember that we're all doing the best that we can with the tools that we currently have, and we're all capable of growing past that. If you'd like to reach out or connect, send me an email, brian@naplesintegratedrecovery.com. I hope to hear from you there. In the meantime, thanks again for listening. I'll see you on the next one.